Number 13. Rio Tinto. Rising from the Sierra Morena Mountains in southwestern Spain, the Rio Tinto owns a distinctive red and orange color due to a unique chemical makeup. For over 5,000 years, the river has been the source of ore mining, including gold, silver, and copper, extracted near its banks. The reddish hue maintained for a 30-mile-long stretch has to do with an extremely high content of iron and heavy metals. Acid drainage from the mining dissolves heavy metals in the water. It's partly the reason why the river is extremely acidic and a ruthless environment for most life forms. Aside from microorganisms called extremophiles, which thrive in the harshest habitats on Earth, nothing lives in the Rio Tinto. In fact, scientists are studying it to determine how life may develop on Mars. Number 12. Yellow River. Sometimes called the River of Sorrow, the Yellow River is prone to floods that wipe out everything in their path. Ever since the 6th century BC, the river has changed course 26 times. Millions of people have died in over 1,500 disastrous floods. The core of the Yellow River's destructive powers is the large amounts of silt it carries as a result of soil erosion. There's so much sediment that the Yellow River sometimes looks like a flowing mudslide. When its levees fail, which happens with some regularity, the countryside is deeply affected. Number 11. Kern. The Kern River, sometimes called Killer Kern, is a dangerous river in the state of California. Its violent flow and brutal drops are inescapable without the proper equipment. One expert argued confidently that even Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympic swimmer in history, would be powerless against its currents. Every section of the river is littered with rocks, branches, and other hazards. Since 1968 and up until May of 2020, the Killer Kern has claimed at least 302 lives. Most of the victims were recreational users who'd entered the water without a life vest and drowned as they were taken by the river's powerful currents. Number 10. Congo. Known as the Heart of Darkness, the Congo River is a force to be respected for anyone who wants to take the fastest route to the core of Africa. It's 9th in length, but 2nd in water volume only to the Amazon. The Congo is, however, the world's deepest river at a staggering 720 feet. This means that it would completely cover the Washington Monument if the structure was to be placed inside. It's too deep even for light to fully penetrate. The Congo's basin is characterized by a lush jungle environment. It's inhabited by dangerous creatures but also hunter-gatherer groups, often collectively referred to as pygmies. The river is home to Nile crocodiles, but also the giant tigerfish, a sharp-toothed, carnivorous predator that can weigh well over 100 pounds. An additional danger of the Congo River comes in the form of violent waters, known as the Inga Rapids. It wasn't until the early 2010s that adventurer Steve Fisher and his team successfully kayaked the first descent of the rapids. Fisher was subsequently named Adventurer of the Year by National Geographic, but had 2 near-fatal encounters with death while braving the Congo's waters. Number 9. Brahmaputra. The Brahmaputra is an important source of transportation and irrigation in Bangladesh, India, and Tibet. For all the advantages it brings to the regions it traverses, the river is also prone to catastrophic floods in the spring, when it overflows with snow melting from the Himalayas. The floods can reach as much as 20,800,000 cubic feet per second. These disasters can result in the loss of many lives, livestock, crops, and houses. During the 1998 flood, for example, more than 70% of Bangladesh's land area was inundated and over 31 million people were affected. In the 2004 floods, close to 1 million homes were obliterated, while many more were badly damaged. Several million latrines were washed away, thus increasing the risk of cholera, diarrhea, and other waterborne health complications. Number 8. TECHA. The TECHA in the Ural Mountains is frequently described as the most radioactive river in the world. From 1949 to 1956, a major Russian nuclear complex dumped nearly 3 billion cubic feet of radioactive waste in the TECHA. At the time, several villages lined the river, with a combined population of about 28,000 residents. Even though they were eventually evacuated, the TECHA was a major source of water for many of them. It's believed that within the span of 45 years, almost 500,000 people were irradiated to some degree or another. In fact, some of them were exposed to levels of radiation up to 20 times greater than those sustained by the victims of the Chernobyl disaster. Number 7. Alligator rivers. 3 rivers in Australia's Northern Territory are collectively known as the Alligator Rivers. The name actually stems from a 19th century misidentification of the crocodilians in its waters. The rivers aren't home to alligators, but to saltwater crocodiles, which are not only larger, but also more aggressive. These monstrous reptilians own the strongest bite ever measured in the animal kingdom and have virtually no adversary in the wild. Along with Nile crocodiles, they produce the most attacks on humans, as well as the greatest number of fatalities. Number 6. Amazon. The same aspects that make the Amazon a true wonder of the natural world are also the ones that make it so deadly. No other river even comes close to it in terms of water volume, as it discharges an average 55 million gallons per second. As such, when the Amazon overflows, it's catastrophic for the fields and villages that line its banks. Flooding is especially violent in conditions of high tide, when the incoming waters of the Atlantic are funneled into the Amazon Delta. The resulting wave is as tall as a giraffe at an estimated 25 feet and travels more than 500 miles inland. Another beautiful but deadly aspect of the Amazon is the diverse fauna found in its enormous basin. Some of these creatures are among the planet's deadliest animals and include black caimans, piranhas, jaguars, Brazilian wandering spiders, or anacondas. Any one of them is fully capable of taking a human life. Number 5. Ganges. Flowing through India and Bangladesh, the Ganges is regarded as a sacred river in Hinduism, a link between the earth and the heaven that purifies those who bathe in it. The mythology of the Ganges is contrasted by a harsh reality. Over 400 million people that live close to the river have contributed to elevated levels of contamination. In some areas, the concentration of fecal coliform bacteria from human waste is more than 100 times the limit imposed by the Indian government. Varanasi, a city visited by numerous pilgrims who ritually bathe in the Ganges, releases about 53 million gallons of untreated human sewage into the river on a daily basis. Contributing to the waste are numerous bodies which are left to float freely in the river as a consequence of religious beliefs. The water is thus contaminated and affects millions who rely on the Ganges for washing, bathing, and cooking. It's been theorized that 80% of all health problems in India and up to a third of deaths stem from waterborne illnesses. Number 4. Potomac. If you enter the river, you will die. This is the message that officials have attached to one stretch of the Potomac River in the northeastern US, a 14-mile-long portion. The Potomac River Gorge is marked by peril. It features cascading rapids and several 20-foot waterfalls. In its Great Falls region, the Potomac suddenly narrows from about 1,000 feet to as little as 60 feet as the water rushes through the gorge. The strongest currents are actually underwater, fatally trapping anyone who gets caught in them. By some estimates, the Potomac River claims 6 lives each year. Number 3. Zambezi. The Zambezi, stretching for almost 1,600 miles in northwestern Africa, is one of the most dangerous rivers in the world due to its relentless rapids and ferocious wildlife. Perhaps its most famous feature is Victoria Falls, which at over 5,600 feet wide is one of the largest waterfalls in the world. At its maximum height of 355 feet, going over the edge would result in a greater drop than from atop the Statue of Liberty. Even if the fall itself isn't deadly, whoever is unlucky enough to go over its edge will face turbulent waters. The stretch following the waterfall is said to have the greatest concentration of Class 5 white water rapids. The swirling waves also hide jagged stones and huge trenches. The wildlife in the Zambezi is terrifying. Nile crocodiles lurk in its water, waiting to snatch their victims from the riverbanks. Hippos, creatures that are notoriously aggressive, are abundant in the Zambezi and will even attack boats. Bull sharks are also known to travel up the river to such an extent that they're sometimes referred to as Zambezi sharks. Today's topic was requested by Jennifer K. Luckett. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. CITARIUM. Indonesia's CITARIUM River is in a deplorable state, and swimming in its waters along some stretches can be deadly. Yet, it's not by natural occurrence that this river has become so dangerous. The CITARIUM is often characterized as the world's most polluted river. There are areas in which the water is barely visible among the flowing garbage. Lead, mercury, arsenic, and other deadly toxins are present in the river as a consequence of pollution from over 2,000 industries. According to the environmentalists fighting for the cleanup of the CITARIUM River, the leading contaminator is the country's textile industry. They've noted around 20,000 tons of waste and over 340,000 tons of wastewater disposed by the industry into the river on a daily basis. Join the They Will Kill You team by rocking the latest merch from theywillkillyou.com. Order yours today to be one of the first to spread the word. Number 1. WHARFE. A stretch of the River Wharfe in Yorkshire, England is remarkably dangerous, and some even believe it to have a fatality rate of 100%. Called the Strid, the portion of the river is narrow enough to be covered in a single stride. Some daredevils choose to jump over it, but those unlucky enough to fall in the water are doomed. Beneath the seemingly placid surface of the Strid lies a dangerous combination of jagged rocks and aggressive undercurrents. It's a spot where the river almost turns on its side, carving out passages and tunnels. Hundreds of lives were claimed by the Strid, including that of a small child in 2010. Thanks for watching. Would you rather swim across the CITARIUM River or try to escape being stuck in quicksand? Let us know in the comments section below.